11.0 is a METZEN expansion. His new WoW role is much bigger than we thought. What does this all mean? Yes, Chris Metzen's back. We've all known that, and he was supposed to kind of be back in the background. But I kind of agree with Taliesin's title right here. I bet you he's playing a large role, considering the fact that Thrall is already a big player, and we all know Thrall is actually Metzen's love child. So the fact that he's like the cover of BlizzCon and everything tells me that METZEN is playing a big role. But let's see what Taliesin has to say about 11.0, WoW's next expansion.
Hello Internet, Taliesin here. Welcome to another episode of the Weekly Reset, and yeah, I know. Let's be fair, we are in a lull in WoW news right now at the end of a patch. Not a long lull, obviously, because Dragonflight patch cadence goes like the absolute clappers. Yeah. 10.1.7 is coming out in just a couple of weeks on September the 5th, and there are constant updates on the PTR and reveals and articles from Blizzard themselves about the patch to talk about, as well as a special report in this episode on one Christopher METZEN and exactly how much influence he is having.
How much is Daddy METZEN doing?
Because I've got some information, and I think it might be more than any of us thought. There's also the little tiny matter of patch 10.2, of course. Remember, the announcement for Embers of Neltharion happened before 10.07 Return to the Forbidden Reach actually launched. I don't think it's unreasonable to suspect the same might happen with the next major patch, which means we shouldn't be surprised if there was a big 10.2 reveal like this week, probably, or the week after. Put that all together, squish it up. That's a lot to get through, so let's get started.
When was that patch supposed to drop? 10.2, I believe. We're getting 10.1.7 in the fall. 10.2 is supposed to be a winter patch, isn't it? I mean, I would think that's when we're going to get it, so we should be getting an announcement anytime in the fall.
Dragon racing. We've all been enjoying the Kalimdor Cup this week, of course, because it's brilliant. And yeah, obviously I'm biased because I am the world's biggest OG dragon riding shill. But dragon racing around Kalimdor for cool transmogs? 10 out of 10, no notes. Yes, even on Goro's circuit. Apparently people really hate that one, but I didn't even know it was supposed to be extra hard until I finished my gold achievement and read everyone else crying about it on Twitter, because oh yeah, also I am the biggest OG dragon riding champ. I even love the horrible turgid slow-mo normal flying from race to race, because a feel-inducing old zone music nostalgia tour is just what I needed, actually. Remember, this event is only on for another week, and we don't know when it will be back. So if there's anything that you want from that vendor, get it now, because all of those items are going to be swapped out for new stuff when the Eastern Kingdom Cup hits in October, a 10.1.7 event. What a fantastic transition. But that's not the end of 10.1.7 dragon riding fun, though, because in Fury Incarnate there are 2 new race modes being added to every dragon racing course.
And a reverse challenge course.
And reverse challenge is the same course, but with no speed ups or vigor recharge blobs. In other words, pure unfiltered dragon racing, which I am genuinely incredibly excited about.
Dragon racing raw dragon riding. Yeah, maybe I went too far there.
Because if there's one thing dragon riding lacked, it was this. Elitism. Basically, zero sugar, pure grain organic challenge racing is now the only dragon racing there is, separating the men from the boys, the wheat from the chaff. Imagine using a vigor recharge blob, famala. And also from the courses I've tested on the PTR, the timers are quite forgiving, and it's just an excuse to go and do all the races again. So yeah, that's a 10 out of 10. No notes. More 10.1.7. Blizzard dropped 3 big Battle.net articles this week on some of the patch's biggest features: Forsaken and Night Elf Heritage Armor, Dream Surges, and the Secrets of Azeroth event, which technically isn't a 10.1.7 feature specifically, but does run into...
What if the Secrets of Azeroth event, right here, right behind my little frame, what if it's actually the first hint at a pirate expansion? You guys know when I think about pirate expansions, I think it's going to happen. I think we're getting a pirate-themed expansion in 11.0. What if the Secrets of Azeroth, whole mystery thing is really a treasure hunt, leading us to more pirate-themed shit? I don't know, man. I think I'm onto something here. I like smelling my own shit on this one, and I really believe it's true.
10.1.7. I've been looking forward to this one for a long time, mostly because we know absolutely nothing about it. Well, until now, because thanks to this Blizzard blog post, we now know a little bit about it, and it sounds
okay. What
brilliant.
Is it? What
Uncover who is behind a recent string of artifact thefts through a variety of daily clues. Ooh, exciting.
Artifact thefts, huh? Maybe it sounds like something a pirate would do.
Keep your eyes peeled for daily secrets and tantalizing new rumors. Don't mind if I do. Play a little Follow the Leader with some of your favorite community creators to discover some of the secrets Azeroth has to offer. Oh no, f off. I'm joking. That's just my little joke, a tiny little joke. I'm sure that bit will be brilliant. Actually, I'm sure it'll be the best bit. That's the bit I'm looking forward to the most. I bet you are too. But one thing we do know is the rewards. A cool mecha hat thing, a torch toy, a key weapon, and a dog wearing a deerstalker, and an alpaca wearing a deerstalker, and a deerstalker. So you don't have to feel left out when you're hanging with your new mountain dog. I'm guessing that all those arrows that appeared around Valdrakken one day on the PTR will have something to do with this event. And maybe the Arcane Forge, which likewise appeared and disappeared within a couple of days on there. But otherwise, it all is genuinely a mystery, and I'm low-key excited for it. We also got a talk through of the new Primal Storms. I mean, Storm Surges. I mean, the Grand Hunt. I mean, the Researchers event. I mean, Suffusion Camps. I mean, Time Rift. Dream Surges. I mean, Dream Surges.
The wet Dream Surges, yes.
What are Dream Surges? Well, they're another one of those Dragonflight open world events. You know the ones I mean. But where on the Dragonflight world event scale will they land? Right up the top with Time Rifts? And
I have to say, of all the Dragonflight world event shit that we've done, the Farak Assaults were my least favorite. They were. Those were my least favorite. I just didn't enjoy doing them, so I didn't do them that often. The ones that I like the most are the Time Rift ones that we've been doing. Those have been my favorite. I don't know what it is about them. They're just very simple, kill all the shit stuff, and the little story hints behind them have been fun to do too. But all in all, I think those are the best. The Farak Assaults have been the worst. We'll see how the wet Dream Searches go.
Enjoyable, varied romp, rich in lore and fun narrative with a smorgasbord of easily targetable rewards? Or will they be more primalist tomorrow? Fine to dip into every now and then when you've got a new altar gear, but ultimately so forgettable that you never even noticed I left them out of the initial list. Dragonflight loves its world events, doesn't it? And this one does have some cool features, like the voting for what buff will be up during the next Dream Surge. And they're every 30 minutes.
Yeah, the buffs
voting
cool.
using the green splobs that you can collect from flying around the zone. I like that. That's neat. I like that a weekly champion gear piece is obtainable from doing them, mostly because it means my orcs can get their heroic...
I don't mind the weekly, you know, the champions gear stuff and all that. That's fine. But what I do mind is why is it every single time they create a new world, you know, event thing or something, we have to have a new currency? Why do we have to have a new currency for every single world thing? I don't know. I mean, is it we have so many at this point that I'm honestly confused at even trying to think about it, so I just don't try to think about it anymore. I usually try to go buy something, and then I realize whether I have that currency or not. But I just can't figure out why the hell they keep making more currencies for every damn assault or world event or whatever the hell comes out. Jesus. Just have like world currency
from these events, as long as I'm
like world event currency, whatever the fuck it's called. Just have one. That's it.
The pieces before I put them in the catalyst. I always forget to do that. There's a currency vendor with some fun rewards on, although nothing as extensive as the Time Rift vendors. And you can get currency by doing world quests and elites in the zone. To be honest, it's kind of impossible to judge these events properly on the PTR, because on there, it's just you doing all of it by yourself, and it takes ages. And they're really designed for like 100 people all doing them at the same time. But from what I have played, I would say Dream Searches aren't the most fun example of Dragonflight's most trusted open world gameplay type thing, which doesn't mean they're bad necessarily. It just means they're not as goofy and joyous as Time Rifts. They're not as balls out, explodey Michael Bay spec.
No, I tied one. You know what? I knew you were going to say something like that. No. Okay, the currency can still be tied to the event. It could just be called World Currency Kata. I don't know. World Currency Dream Surge, World Currency Farak Assault. You know, just put it in parentheses, whatever. Just have it as one currency. I don't need a new currency look with a new currency name, with a new currency, you know, get 100 of this currency and form one of this currency. Just give me one. Just give me one so I can keep track of it and understand where it came from and what it is. That's it. I think you need to retire the old currency. Yeah. Or just delete the old currency when the world event is done and have them restart from 0. There's ways to do it. I just don't like... Yeah, it sounds like what you're making new... I know. What I'm not liking is the names and everything because I can't keep track of it. I don't need to have a different name for every single thing. Just give me one so I know. Okay, this is the new gear from the new world event. I need how many world currencies to get this? Oh, okay, 3. Gotcha. Not that I need 30, 3 dream splooges and combine those dream splooges into a dream shot. And then I need 1 giant dream shot to buy the helm that I want. No. It's not even the multiple currencies. It's the names that are throwing me off. I can't keep track of all this shit.
Spectacles to fusion camps, and they're not as Moorish, like just one last boss kind of thing as flying around the Forbidden Reach, picking off elites was. I suspect there's probably...
It is kind of annoying when someone asks you, like, oh, how many do you need for that helm? How many what? I know I need 30 of this thing, but I don't know what the thing is. Be nice if I could just say it.
World fill the bar fatigue on these events now as well. Although I will be thrilled to be proven wrong. And in fairness, Dragonflight has a really good track record in proving me wrong and being way better than I ever expected. This is a really good expansion. So I think I'm going to hold off being a complete dick about Dream Surges.
Also, a lot of these currencies end up in your bags.
For me, one of the real main events of any patch is always going to be story stuff, which in 10.1.7's case, we have not been able to
Nothing beats plague points.
We know that there is the return of the Scarlet Monastery in some capacity.
The best dungeon in the game.
That we picked up on towards the end of Shadowlands when those updated maps were sneaked into the data. Will it end up being part of Secrets of Azeroth or a more permanent addition to the game, like the updated Sholomance stuff in 10.1.5? And don't forget, whatever story is going to be connected to the Night Elf and Forsaken heritage quest lines too, because
the Return of Lordaeron?
It's going to be quite important. I'll admit, these are 2 Heritage Armor quest lines I've been dreading because they've got a lot of work to do. A huge part of the player base expects them to basically go some way to resolving the massive upheaval that both these races have been going through since, well, forever, but specifically BFA. The Forsaken job seems a bit more straightforward of the 2, seeing as they've already reclaimed Lordaeron and started rebuilding at the end of Shadowlands.
Yeah, they already got their council and
shit. In a transition stage, really looking to discover where they go next. You'd hope that at the very least we'd see how the new council's getting settled. And also, even though you suspect a lot of emphasis will be on the undead moving on from the shadow of Sylvanas, you kind of can't have a Forsaken heritage questline without Sylvanas, can you?
I do wonder if she's going to show up.
The existence of both the Forsaken Champions tabard and the Queen's Loyalist tabard suggests perhaps not. The Night Elf questline, the Night Elf questline has a much bigger challenge.
What happened to them? Somebody burned down all their shit? Maybe. I think the Night Elf questline's taking us into the Emerald Dream. They're going to plant their seed, impregnate the dream, and get their tree growing.
With anything less than the repopulating of Teldrassil likely to be seen as an abject elf-hating failure by players, to the extent where, honestly, if it was up to me, I'd probably completely ignore any progression of the Night Elf plight in these heritage quests at all. All the new tree stuff, all the new Night Elf home stuff, Malfurion's return, the Teldrassil Night Elf souls finding peace, Tyrande finally getting to relax, all that stuff leave for 10.2. Make that mainline plot. And just have the heritage quests be either a celebration of the many facets of the race itself, like the brilliant recent Orc heritage quests, or of the player's journey playing that race, like the human heritage quests. Difficult without Teldrassil, granted. Okay, make it like the Orc ones then.
I did play the
There's
story.
Always a lot of interesting talk around these heritage quests when they launch.
Where'd they
and
put
I
their
do think
seed?
Those last couple that I mentioned was some of the best yet. So yeah, hopes are high for this and the rest of Fury Incarnate in general. As always, there are links to our favourite Wowhead articles of the week in the description of this video that will tell you loads more about everything we've talked about here and tell you how to win Ungoro Crater though. You want to win Ungoro Crater, right? There is though something else that I wanted to talk about today, or someone else. Chrissy METZEN. Yes,
good old Chrissy boy.
The Chris METZEN. Christ METZEN. The Metzmeister. Mr. Warcraft himself. And if you think I'm exaggerating for comic effect here, then you're right, but also kind of not. Chris is one of the all-time old-school legends of Blizzard, and in particular, Warcraft. Having basically come up with the entire lore and history of Azeroth in a couple of afternoons, and probably being the main driving charismatic force of this entire pretend world that that we're all so familiar with and protective of. Thousands of pairs of hands have shaped Azeroth over the years, but I think it's fair to say Chris Metzen is as close as you're ever going to come to finding a face for it. And maybe best of all, unlike all the other old school legends of Blizzard, he didn't even have to leave quietly in disgrace after the harassment scandal. So that's great too. It's okay to love Chris Metzen.
He did leave and come back at the right time, didn't he? Oh man, all the shit hit the fan after he was gone.
And thank let's be balanced. There was that really embarrassing tweet where he pretended to basically not know Alex Afrasiabi. That didn't look good. But you know what? Literally everyone to a man I know who has worked at Blizz or does work at Blizz now, including people that I genuinely trust and admire, have only 100% good things to say about Chris Metzen in private.
Give the guy a chance,
that's good enough for me. It's okay to love Chris Metzen, which is good because as we all know, he's back. In December last year, John Haidt delivered what many in the community considered an early Christmas present with the news that after stepping away from Blizzard due to exhaustion and stress a couple of years previously, Chris Metzen was returning to the fold as a creative advisor on the...
By the way, has anyone ever noticed that Thrall is literally Chris Metzen? Literally. Like they're the same fuck. They are each other. Like Thrall got older. Even Thrall's hairline receded the same way Chris Metzen's did. It's ridiculous. And then he got married and had kids, same as Chris. He stepped away from being war chief, same way Chris stepped away from World of Warcraft, from Blizzard. And then Chris came back and, oh wow, look at that. Thrall is back. He's the BlizzCon art. He's on the front page. I mean, they're connected at the dick. They are one and the same. They are each other.
Warcraft team. We all remember this, right? We all remember how happy everyone was with this. Laughing and crying and all the things with joy. OMG, that's great news for Warcraft, actually. Best news, best news, best news. I can't stop saying holy shit. I try not to be too hyped, but goddamn. It was a simp show, obviously. It felt big, and it was big. Players were hyped, WoW devs were hyped, happy days. As the dust settled on that, though, and as we haven't really seen much of Chris since then, I wouldn't be surprised if a majority of you started to think the whole Chris thing being back was maybe kind of like a little bit symbolic rather than especially influential. Kind of like, okay, you know how in football he came back as like a you pretend not to like because you're too cool and nerdy. You know when there's a club legend who retires and then the club invite them to hang around the place in an ambassador role, just like being a legend. So Liverpool will chuck a few quid at Ian Rush to turn up at Anfield on match day and he'll just hang out in the executive bar.
I've seen it like I was saying, like advisor shit. Like some companies will do this. They'll bring back, you know, somebody who was a symbol of the successful times of that company as an advisor. In reality, the guy's not fucking doing anything. They're just paying him to come back so that way the stockholders can get all excited and pump the stock up because they think, oh, it's a return to the glory days. And that's really what I thought the Chris Metzen move was. It could be wrong. Maybe he starts playing a bigger role. He might be, considering Thrall looks like he's going to be playing a bigger role. And like I said, they're connected at the dick. But when I first saw the news, I thought, oh, he's going to come back as like this advisor. He's not going to really do anything. They're just bringing him back to make people think and stock investors think, oh, the return of the glory days is back. We'll see.
Chatting to VIPs, posing for photos, and just be Ian Rush. And that's cool for him because he hasn't got much else to do. And it's cool for Liverpool and their fans because it's a tangible link to the glorious past, a consistency which just makes everyone feel better. It's good for morale, and that is how I imagine this. Chris Metzen would come in every month, and Steve Danusa and Ian Hazacostas would talk him through their plans for the game.
Yeah, he'd shake some hands.
And he'd be like, dudes, that sounds awesome. Don't forget, Thrall is awesome and needs more lines.
Collect his paycheck and go back home.
And then he'd go home, happy that he's having input into the world he basically created. Ian and Steve are happy because it's still basically just their thing. And all the players are happy because Metzen is just, like, there, and that's got to be better than him not being there. That's just the impression that I got from John's tweet and the lack of visible Chris Metzen thereafter. But internet, I don't say this very often, but I'm saying it now. It turns out I was wrong. I was incredibly wrong. Last week, ex-Blizzard co-leader and current Just Blizzard leader, Mike Ybarra, one of us, tweeted this. We sent some lucky Blizzard team members to the hashtag Taylor Swift Eras Tour concert in LA. Hope they had a blast. At Chris Metzen and myself and some Blizzard folks will see hashtag Metallica, and I can't wait. We have some very exciting at Warcraft news that at Chris Metzen and the at Windstalker, that's producer Holly Longsdale, will show you all hashtag BlizzCon this year.
Oh, he's presenting.
I can't wait. I'm more excited about WoW's future than ever before. Okay, so yeah, there's a lot going on in this tweet. And first of all, Mike, I'm sorry. This is 2 tweets, okay? The first half and the second half have literally nothing to do with each other. And talk about burying the lead. This is like if I tweeted out, had hashtag pizza for dinner on Friday, it was stuffed crust, had a blast. Evertel and I are thinking of having hashtag tacos tomorrow, hashtag yum, hashtag taco life. Our new baby was born on Tuesday, Evertel and child both doing well, and I'm super excited to see what hashtag new baby grows up to be. But whatever, okay, here is Mike telling us that hashtag Chris METZEN will be the one revealing WoW's future.
Yeah, he'll be back on the stage.
To be a new expansion.
To be fair, I don't think this confirms that he is playing a large role, but Chris METZEN has a wonderful stage presence. He's always had the best stage presence of anybody at Blizzard, and honestly, even comparing to other companies, he just has a very good way of presenting, hyping up the crowd, and getting everyone excited. So he just might be presenting. That doesn't. I don't know if that means he played a role in creating the expansion
at BlizzCon in November. And on the face of it, you might not think this really changes anything. If METZEN were back on the WoW team in that ambassador role, then honestly, an absolute banger of a BlizzCon presentation is kind of what you'd imagine his main duties would be. You don't get Chris METZEN back on the team and not get him to do the BlizzCon presentation. Right. It's what the man was born for. It would be like getting Slash in your band and putting him on clarinet. It would be like inviting Katie Hopkins to your birthday party and not letting her say anything racist. What's the point? There's just something about this tweet that seemed a little bit more than that to me. And internet, I'm going to tell you something I've heard. So the thing is, as you know, obviously we've been doing this job long enough now that we know quite a few people that work at Blizzard. And on Team 2, who make WoW in particular. Some in friendly passing, and some who we love and consider genuine friends. And naturally, we hear stuff. Often it's stuff that we would never dream of repeating because it's said in trust, or by mistake, or simply because, honestly, hearing something off of one person and reporting it isn't very responsible, frankly. It could just be wrong. People are wrong a lot. But then sometimes, not very often, we hear the same kind of thing from a few different people independently. Maybe just offhand, throwaway. They say it in a way that doesn't suggest it's really a secret, and no one has actually told us anything at all. But altogether, a picture of something forms. And this is one of those things. Because the impression that I get is that Chris METZEN is actually a far bigger part of the WoW team than any of us originally thought. That actually, far from being a symbolic retired thoroughbred that gets wheeled out on special occasions, he is a fundamental part of the current leadership of World of Warcraft. I have heard that Chris METZEN, Ian Hazakostas, and Steve Danusa spend huge amounts of time in a room with each other, just throwing ideas round. Not the two who
that'd be a great room to be in.
WoW, running their plans by the old boss, but with Chris as an equal and important part of the process. I have heard that Chris METZEN gives regular and incredibly detailed updates to the rest of Team 2 on their plans that they are working on. The impression I get is that when Chris METZEN stands on stage with the crowd in the palm of his hand, revealing whatever WoW has to reveal at BlizzCon, it won't be just as a face, but as someone who has been at the very heart of creating whatever is revealed. Which, for the Mets heads among us, is going to be a very exciting thought indeed. Because it's Chris METZEN. He shaped and formed Azeroth like a titan. He conceptualized Vanilla and TBC and Wrath and Cataclysm and Mists of Pandaria and WoD. And yeah, in the early days, some of the story threads and plot beats are about as deep as you'd expect from a dude in his 20s without like a ton of outside experience of other cultures. You know, and there is that weird habit of using SA as a plot device, especially when it comes to dragons. But Chris METZEN was half the age I am now when he wrote that shit. I like to think I've matured since then. It's fair to acknowledge that he has too. And if he truly, really is back in the swing of things, and I think he is, could this be a return to the glory days?
Chris METZEN walks in, they have their like room meeting, it's his first day, and he goes, all right guys, first thing on the board, and he points at the board and it just says retcon Shadowlands. I wish, man. Imagine he looks at them and he goes, what the fuck did you do to Arthas Menethil? Can somebody explain to me who the person is that approved the ripping apart of the Helm of Domination and then creating this Princess Tiara of Wills? Can somebody explain this shit? That's what I imagine. Then he flips the fucking table and he says, we're retconning this. It was a vision of N'Zoth. It never happened. And we're never talking about Shadowlands ever again. And that's it. Oh, If only. If only. Second thing we need to do is more Zovok.
WoW are supposed to have been. I mean, I don't know. If we're talking about hype, then yeah. I don't know if there's a man alive who is as good at building hype and good feelings towards a video game than Chris Metzen.
This BlizzCon's going to be hyped, no
it
doubt.
is going to feel awesome, as much because it's him doing it as anything else. And there's a lot to be said for that, you know? That's a good thing. I also think it's overall a really great thing for the team. By all accounts, Metzen is one of the most inspiring and charismatic leaders in the industry. And for a team of devs, mostly made up at this point of people who played WoW as kids or young adults and then became devs specifically to work on this game in many cases, yeah, I think suddenly working on that game with Chris Metzen is going to be brilliant for them. And the more inspired and happy the dev team, the better the chances that the game is good. Which is why you should pay them properly and not crunch and allow work from home, by the way. It makes good games. And I gotta say as well, imagine being Steve Danusa now. Imagine having gone through the amount of shit that guy has gone through in the last couple of years. Half the time for decisions that were made long before he was even in charge of anything. And imagine now having that cast iron protection of having all your narrative choices in the game being Chris Metzen approved. What a relief that's going to be. So yeah, all in all, it is good for the energy and feeling and quality around World of Warcraft. There is a part of me that thinks it's a bit of a shame this has happened in Dragonflight of all expansions. Because right now, in my opinion, this is not a game in need of reinvention. Dragonflight is the reinvention, and it's a really good one. We are in the middle of a top draw, A grade, genuinely one of the best expansions ever right now.
Well, yes, he is right about that. Dragonflight, I do think, is one of the best expansions we've had in quite a while, but I disagree with him in that it doesn't need a remake or rework. And all in all, World of Warcraft. I think it does, because I think just having a great expansion isn't enough anymore. I think the damage has been done. The game's been around for long enough. Shadowlands really shit on everything, and it was kind of a, you know, a final nail in the coffin, you know, for a lot of people. I think it's going to take something bigger than just a good or even great expansion to bring people back. There has to be something, a remake, a rework, something new, something different, something that's still very World of Warcraft but feels next gen done in this game to really bring people back and bring it back to the top of the mountain. It's still the top MMO, but World of Warcraft was so much more than just being the #1 MMO for a long time. It was one of the #1 games in the world, all in all genres included. Maybe it will be once again.
Philosophy and joy behind it is enhanced by Chris's presence rather than replaced. Does that make sense? One thing I do know, and I can tell you for sure, the people who work on WoW are very excited about his presence and input and all the things they've been cooking up for the future of WoW. And that alone is enough to make me very excited too. Thank you for joining us today. If you like this episode, don't thank us, thank our patrons who give their actual real life money to make all of our work happen. And genuinely, thank you guys, because without you, there'd be a whole lot less Taliesin and Avatar. Evie wasn't in this episode, as you may have noticed, but she does join me on Twitch Monday, Wednesday, and Thursday as we co-stream more Baldur's Gate 3, and we're aiming to get another test episode of the podcast out this week too. Here's hoping. If you didn't like the show today, downvote the shit out of it, and remember, my name is Boklahoma. No, my name is Taliesin from me and Avatar. Until next time, cheers.
Great video. Chris Metzen coming back, I thought again was just like a, you know, a media move, you know, get our stock up. Chris is back. Let's do this. I hope I'm wrong. And honestly, Thrall on the cover art of BlizzCon tells me maybe I was wrong. Maybe he is playing a bigger role. And maybe this next expansion is going to be fantastic. I can't wait. We'll find out soon.